everyone, and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Thursday, March 2nd, 2023, and this is episode 248. I'm Carol, also known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. I hope you're all doing well, that you've had a good week. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is a little after 4 in the afternoon, which is considerably later than I prefer to sit down and record, but it's just the way things worked out today. Unfortunately, I have lost the best light of the afternoon. In fact, earlier on, it was sunny outside, but in the last half hour or so, the sky has darkened. The clouds have rolled in, so has the rain, and it's blustery and windy out there. March is definitely coming in like a lion. On the other hand, if I had recorded earlier, it would have been too warm for me to wear one of my finished projects, which I will talk about later. So I guess it's all a matter of timing, and there are pros and cons to each. Before I do share what I've been working on this past week, I have a couple of winners to announce. These are for the 2 make-alongs that are taking place in the Ravelry group. Each winner will receive up to $20 US in patterns that are giftable on Ravelry. And so if you hear your name, please send me a private message on Ravelry with the names of the patterns that you would like, and I will get those into your inbox as soon as I can. So first up, we have the winner from the February portion of the Another Year of Stash chatter thread. I drew from post number 194 to 379, and random number generator chose post 315. That is Katina Pickle from the United Kingdom. So congratulations to you, and thank you so much for taking part in the make-along. Next up, we have the winner of the January Yarn of the Month Club. There were 15 finished projects, and so I wrote down the names in the order in which the projects were finished. And random number generator chose number 8. That is DMB714, who is Donna from New Brunswick. So congratulations, Donna. And thank you for taking part in the first month of the Yarn of the Month Club. Now, just a word about that make-along. The rules are a little bit stricter, I guess is maybe a good way to put it, than the Another Year of Stash. And one of the stipulations is that you create a cast-on post in the first month and then finish your project and post a finished project post by the end of the second month. And this is for a couple of reasons. One, the main one is that it's a way of being accountable, that you're not posting something from last year just out of the blue. Here's a finished project, boom, bang. It's a way of saying, hey, look, I'm starting it here, and look, I'm finishing it here. Having said that, it doesn't take into account when people either come across the podcast or the make-along when a month has already started, or people who didn't decide to participate right away. So for the first couple of months, I'm going to be kind of lenient on that. And as long as I have a high confidence that you, in fact, began this project in the first month of the make-along and finished it in the second, I'm going to give you a little leeway. But more or less, I want to keep to those rules, just because it's a way to keep everyone accountable, and it's also a way for everyone to sort of be on the same level playing field. So just keep that in mind going forward. All right, I have a couple of finished projects. Maybe we'll talk about the obvious one first. I actually recorded a segment earlier while it was sunny out, and so I'm going to insert that here so you can see my first finished project. All right, here it is, my finished Shawn. This is a sweater pattern by Elizabeth Doherty, which I cast on back in late November of 2022. I recently picked it back up again after a little bit of a hiatus, and earlier this week I finished the knitting and then washed and blocked it, and so it's now 100% done. Before I talk about it in more detail, I'll just give you a little bit of a spin so you can see it from all directions. So obviously there it is from the front and the side and the back. I knit this from 2 colors of Rowan Felted Tweed, which is a DK weight yarn. The main color is 177 Clay and the contrast color is 150 Rage. I chose to knit the longer A-line version, but the pattern also does give instructions for a shorter, straighter, cropped version. I knit the 3rd size, which gives a finished bust measurement of 37.5 inches. My own bust measurement wearing a bra is just under 36, so that gives you an idea of how much ease there is. I did knit this with considerably less ease than suggested. The pattern suggests about 3 to 5 inches of positive ease in the bust area and 1.5 to 2.5 inches in the bicep area. But I prefer a more closely fitted sweater, and I could not be happier with my size choice. This pattern fits exactly as I wanted it to. It's the perfect length, both in the sleeves and the body, and it has just the perfect amount of ease. I knit the pattern more or less as instructed, although I did opt for a little bit of a less shallow, less wide neckline. So I just followed the pattern instructions to achieve this by casting on for the 1st size and then increasing to the 3rd size when instructed. I also added a little bit of length in the body before working the body increases, and that was to accommodate my long torso. It's something I have to do with every sweater I knit, but as I say, I really like the length that it ended up being. So I'm going to come in a little bit closer just to show you a couple of pictures of how the sweater looks when it is worn as intended, and then I'll give you a bit of a close-up on the color work. So you can see from this picture from the back, and then this one from the front, that the sweater was intended to be worn quite a bit more loosely. So while I'm here, let me show you this beautiful slip stitch color work. So the pattern does say that you can put these stitch patterns in any order, but I followed the pattern suggestion. You also have a little bit of detail here just above the cuff on the sleeve, and both the neckline and the bottom are finished with a little bit of ribbing and then this row of the contrast color. So as I mentioned in some of my earlier episodes, I was initially concerned with the fit of this sweater. I believe I had completed, I think, most of the, oh yeah, I know what I had done. I completed the color work on the yoke, and I had divided for the sleeves and body. When I tried it on, the sweater was kind of riding up here in the neck, sitting off my shoulders, and it felt constrictive, and I was concerned about that. And so what I ended up doing is knitting the rest of the color work on both the body and the sleeves, slipping my work onto waste yarn and blocking it. And once I did that, I realized that the sweater was going to fit just fine. It was the blocking just made everything relax, fall into place, and now as you can see, the sweater sits exactly where it's supposed to. It's lots of ease through here, doesn't feel constricted at all. And yeah, as I say, I am just so pleased with how it turned out. I'm just thinking I'm going to come in close just again for a moment and just to show you the yarn up close, because there's a lot of subtlety in this Rowan Felted tweed. So you can see all the little bits of blue through gray and blue through this gray color, and then you can't really tell, I don't think, but there's some little blue flecks in the red also. So I just thought these two colors together just went perfectly, and ended up doing sort of a reversal of the original pattern, which featured a dark body with light contrast. Anyway, yeah, I'm super happy with how this turned out. It's always very gratifying when you put all that work into a sweater or any garment and have it fit the way that you want it to. So yeah, I just couldn't be happier with this, and there's still some winter left for me to wear it. In fact, as I look out my window right now, there is snow on the ground. So I'll definitely get a little bit of wear out of this before the season changes. I have to say, when I first put the sweater on, it feels slightly prickly. I'm pretty sensitive to sort of more rustic wools and things like alpaca, which I actually think there might be some alpaca in this yarn, and mohair and such. But I've been wearing this now for, a good half hour, I guess, and it's quite comfortable. Yeah, I can feel a little bit of prickling, but I'm not, itching and scratching. So I think this is definitely a sweater that I'll be able to wear. Next up, I finished a pair of socks, and they are what I call my Sugar Plum Fairy Maiden socks. I call them that because this is the Fairy Maiden sock pattern by This Handmade Life, and they are knit from some yarn from Sweet Fiber. So I'm just looking on my notes here and I can't see it. It's the Super Sweet sock in the Sugar Plum Dance colorway. And so I thought Sugar Plum Fairy, Sugar Plum Fairy Maiden, and it's just, I like to play with names like that in case you haven't noticed. So yeah, I finished these and I love how they turned out. So this was my the first yarn from my personal sock yarn club for this year. This is an informal thing I am doing this year just for myself. I chose 12 skeins of yarn, most of them from yarn clubs that I had, sock yarn clubs that I had participated in over the past year, or the previous year I should say. And I had Cameron put them into bags and number them randomly, and so this was bag number 1. And I'm just really love how they came out. This was part of the Holiday 2022 Sock Club from Sweet Fiber. So I'll bring these in a little bit closer so you can see this really nice cable and lace pattern. So you can see there's a twisted rib cuff. This pattern included right and left 1-stitch cables. I guess they're 2-stitch cables, but 1 stitch over 1 stitch. And I just found that really fiddly to do, so I substituted right twist and left twist, which basically looks the same. And I found that just a little less fiddly to work, especially because there were so many of them. Has a traditional heel flap and gusset. I didn't even look at the heel flap or the heel turn shaping. I just did my usual. And my usual rounded toe, because I know they fit me well. So yeah, there you go. First pair of socks, I think, finished for this year, but I am not 100%. No, I don't think that's true. I think my Cuddle Time tea socks were. Anyway, here's a new pair of socks. Let's just leave it at that. Speaking of socks, I have a pair of socks, if I can find them. which is so close to being done. They are socks that I have been knitting out of this Laine du Nord paint sock yarn. This is color 10. And I'll come up real close. You can see how it knits up in these stripes. So I am knitting these two concurrently on 2 separate needles. I also added a little bit of West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. Well, let me see my notes from last week. I think it's in there. Or maybe the week before. Maybe I didn't put it down. Oh, yeah, here we go. West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply color cinnamon stick, which is 632, I think. It's hard to read. Anyway, I use that for a short row heel. But here's one sock. Actually, maybe I'll slip this one onto a sock blocker so you can see it from the side. A little longer than I thought, sorry. Anyway, there it is. So I just thought that color worked really well with the color that goes in between all the stripes. Look at the pretty colors. And this sock is ready for the toe. And this sock, I've begun the toe, but I've only done a few rows in it. So I'll probably come very close to finishing at least one of them while I edit this episode. And so I'm pretty sure by next time I record, I'll have finished these socks. I'm a little disappointed that I don't have longer feet because unfortunately I'm not going to get much or any of this brighter red and orange at the toes. You can see they're coming up, but that's okay. I mean, I got them at the top. You know, I still got those colors in. And I kind of like the way the kind of goldy color worked out, that it was basically, you know, halfway along the sock. So actually the color distribution worked out really well for my, you know, symmetrical OCD mind. Not true OCD. I don't mean to mock people who actually do suffer from that, but I am somewhat of a perfectionist, in case you haven't figured that out yet, at least when it comes to my knitting. All right, what else? My blanket of cheer. I have not done a whole lot, and I said before that I was not going to show you partially finished blocks, but I can't help myself. Last week I showed you that I had received a new skein of yarn from Fiber Nymph Dye Works called Community, and that was for the last year's Mio Mill. And so I have taken a portion of it and knit it into this square, and as you can see, I've started the other side. So that's what this one will look like. And in doing so, I ended up knitting a whole portion, like here, in some of the other colors, and I was trying to determine like where I can stop and start as far as colors went. And so I don't know where they are in here, but I have, oh here. Oops. I have rolled up enough yarn for 2 more mitered squares, and so I will choose another semi-solid and knit up another square of this yarn. I can't remember what's in here. I think it's the orange, the gold, and then you can see the gray on the outside. pretty sure. Oh, and there might be even a little bit of this beigey color to start. I can't remember. I just know that I wanted the blue in this one, and that's how it worked out the best. And in doing so, I was able to wind off enough yarn at the beginning of each of my skeins to create enough for a second square. So haven't decided. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to do a little bit of shifting around with the planning that I had done, but I know I won't have any trouble finding something to knit up to match that. So that's where I am with my blanket. I have to say that my Sean sweater took a lot of my plain knitting time up this week, just because I had reached the body and the stockinette portion, and so I was you know, just worked away on that. So I didn't do tons on my socks or my plain socks. I did that, started working on those kind of after I finished my sweater, and yeah, I'll get back to my miter square blanket as and when I feel like working on it. And I have 2 cowls that I cast on just yesterday. The first is for my March Personal Sock Yarn Club. I am using this skein of yarn that was, I'm looking for the label, oh here it is. This was gifted to me by my daughter a few years ago for my birthday. So I decided to knit it up in my birthday month. It's from Riverstone Yarns. I still haven't looked to see if they're still dyeing. This label says that they are unique yarns dyed by hand in the Kootenay region of British Columbia, Canada. And she bought this, I believe, at Fibers West. So it was obviously a few years ago. And this is a merino cashmere nylon blend of fingering weight yarn, and the colorway is Contemplation. So that's the info, and then I think the light's picking that up actually quite well. It's kind of a blend of purples and kind of a burnt orange. It's a really interesting color combination. And I really like purple and orange together. I have quite a number of times worn those colors together. So it's actually really right up my alley. Oops, just dropped the label, that's okay. So anyway, I wasn't sure what to knit. When she gave it to me, she sort of said, please don't make socks from this. You know, it's got the cashmere, I'd love to see you knit something else. And so to honor that request, I went looking for a cowl pattern, and I am going to knit up Secret Skein by Stephanie Lotfin of Tellybean Knits. And this pattern was designed for those special skeins of fingering weight yarn. Works equally well, she says, for tonal or variegated. And so far, I have to agree, it's definitely knitting up really nicely. So I cast this on, I think it was yesterday afternoon. I think it was afternoon, maybe morning. I can't remember. Anyway, I like how it's working up so far. So that looks like it's gonna go here. If you look at the pattern, and then it introduces these elongated stitches later on. So I think it's going to be really nice. So that's been fun to work on. And then I think it was a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even last week, I talked about a new mystery knit along from Lisa K. Ross of Paper Daisy Creations called Simply Fun. And it's also for a cowl, and it is knit from 5 mini skeins. So I am using these from Knit Picks. It's the Knit Pick Stroll Tonal Mini Pack in the Moody Blues colorway. So I'm hoping you can see, I know the light's reflecting off the plastic, but I don't want to dig these out. and you'll see them in the knitting anyway. So it was supposed to start today, but surprise, she released the Clue, Clue 1 a day early. And so I was able to sit down after, I was gonna say after school, after supper last night, and then I worked on this this morning. And I finished up Clue 1. So here's a big spoiler alert. If you're taking part in that, I will do my best to remember to put either a new starting time if you want to flip ahead, or I'll put the little breaks, chapters, or I can't remember what they're called. But here's lots and lots of warning. I'm going to show it, and I won't keep it up for very long. So, fair warning, here it comes. So we do a provisional cast on. And you've actually, Clue 1, we got to work with all 5 colors at once. So we started with this garter and stockinette section with colors 1 and 5. Then we moved on to this section with colors 2 and 4. And then this was the final section. Let's see if it can, there, that might, just with the lighting, trying to make you see the texture without seeing through it. That was color 3. So in totality, this is what we have so far. So another week to go before Clue 2 comes out, but that gives me lots of time to work on some other projects. So that's okay, I don't mind. It was fun to work on, I was in the mood, and so yeah, if this is already done, it's safe to look, by the way, if you are just looking away. Yeah, that suits me fine. That sort of frees me up to work on some other things. And I think this will be a fun little cowl to make up. Just gonna tuck this away in my bag. This is a project bag. I don't remember when I got it and from who, but I love it because it's got these beautiful teacups on it. Up and coming. So because I am so close, well, A, because I have finished the Personal Sock Yarn Club #1 yarn, Personal Sock Yarn Club yarn #1. I've now completed that. Plus I am so close to finishing my other socks that I have on the go. I thought I would open up bag number 2. So here it is. Let's see what's inside. It is one of my Fiberniv Dye Works skeins. This is from the Backyard Birdwatchers Club 2nd edition. This colorway is called Lady Cardinal, and it's on the Mountain Tweed BFL base. Perhaps some of this will make its way into my blanket. In fact, I'm almost certain that some will, because how can I not, right? So yeah, looking forward to casting those on. Yay. And that's perfect because this will be a plain vanilla sock, and so I won't be doing a patterned sock with these. So that actually works out really well because I'm ready for a new pair of just plain vanilla socks. So kind of planned that better myself. All right, that just brings us to what's been going on around here since we last spoke a week ago. So I think I mentioned back then that, oops, my notebook's flapping in the wind here. I think I mentioned that we were planning to go out on Saturday night for to celebrate Cameron's birthday, which was on Monday. So we did. We went down to this new wine bar downtown and walked over from there to have dinner. And both experiences were very nice. We had an appetizer with our wine. We did like a flight of wines that we shared, different white wines, and then went and had a nice dinner. So Cameron had talked to our younger son about driving us there and then having us cab back, just so we wouldn't have to worry about drinking and driving. And also it was, we were expecting snow, so we thought that's also an added reason to let somebody else drive later on. As it turned out, the snow did start while we were having dinner, and there's probably about an inch, maybe a little less than an inch by the time we finished supper. Anyway, we were kind of just finishing up, and we got a text from our son to say that he was in the neighborhood just grabbing a few groceries, and if we were going to be done soon, he would come and pick us up too. So that worked out perfectly. We got out and he grabbed us and brought us home, and so yeah, we just had a really nice dinner and time together. So it was a good way to start the weekend. And then Sunday morning we woke up to a foot of snow. We knew they were predicting, a 5 to 10, 10 to 20, like we're thinking maybe 8 inches at the most, but yeah, we had a full foot. I think that's the most we've had at one time during this winter. We've had a fair bit of snow. We had a fair bit of snow a couple different occasions before Christmas, but wow, this was all at once. So we kind of woke up a little bit slowly and took our time having a cup of tea and all that, and then we got dressed and went outside and shoveled out the driveway. It's a little bit heavier snow than we had before, but not too bad. The hardest part was at the very end of the driveway where the snowplow had gone by. But we got everything all clean, all shoveled up, and came inside, and I cooked like what we call big breakfast, bacon and eggs and hash browns and stuff. So we had that. And then we settled in to watch curling. So it was the Scotties finals over the weekend. That's the Canadian Women's Championships. They were being held in Kamloops, BC this year. And my mom and my niece actually went for the weekend. They had gotten a package of tickets for all the playoff games and the finals. So they had gone over, I think, on Thursday, and then stayed Thursday night through Sunday night, and then my niece drove my mom back home Monday, and then came home from there. My mom lives about an hour and a half from Kamloops. I guess my niece had quite a drive home because there was some snow around where my mom was. Well, there was snow on the way between Kamloops and where my mom is, and then there was snow for a little while coming home, and then snow once she got down to the lower mainland, lower Fraser Valley. She had quite a bit of snow before she got home. So not the greatest drive home for her, but they certainly had a good time while they were there. One of my sisters caught their picture on the Jumbotron on TV a couple of times, so that was kind of neat. And then also they had a chance to meet up with one of the announcers that my mom used to watch curl all the time, and they got a picture with him. So I think she just had, I know that they both had a great time. They were supposed to go to the same event in Prince George, BC, which is further north, in 2020, and then it got canceled because of COVID. And so to have it so close to home again and have that opportunity to go was great, and they took advantage of it. So we are so happy for my mom to have that opportunity, and I know she and my niece had a great weekend. And to make things even better, the team that, other than BC, obviously when it starts, we're pulling for Team BC, and they actually did really well this year. They made it into the playoffs, but then lost, I think, their first game of the playoffs. But other than that, we pull for, well, it was Team Canada this year because they had won it last year. And they won. They ended up winning, kind of really having to kind of come back and win it because they had some setbacks along the way. So it was a very good final game, and we were happy with the results. I'm just going to see if there's anything else I've written down. Oh yeah, speaking of curling, I curled a couple of different times this week. Our usual Monday night, which we won handily against a first-year team. So, you know, I hate when it's really one-sided. I'd rather have a much closer game, but it was still nice to win. We've only lost one game in the second half. Mind you, we have been playing all the bottom teams, of which we are one. So our competition has been less, but you know, we've managed to click as a team and do much better in the second half of the season. And then yesterday I spared for a team, and yesterday morning, and ended up playing against one of my sister's teams. And it was a very, very close game, went back and forth, and we ended up tying in the end. So considering how competitive it was the whole way, it was actually, in a way, was a good way to end it. Although I think both teams, you know, you always want to win, or you always want to end with a win if you can. But I guess a tie is the next best thing. And then we are going to be curling this coming weekend, Cameron and I, and the skip that we play with on Monday night, and then the skip she plays with on Wednesday nights, are all going to be in a bonspiel this weekend. It's a mixed bonspiel. So you have 2 men and 2 women on the team, and you alternate positions. So I'll play my usual lead. Cameron will be second. Our skip that we normally play with will play third, and then her skip will skip. So looking forward to that, except that our first game is 9 o'clock tomorrow night, which is way later than I want to be curling, especially the first and only game of that day. But that's just part of it, and I guess depending on how we do will determine when we curl on Saturday. So there are a couple of meals provided by the club, a couple of dinners. I'm assuming some music on Saturday night. I know there usually is, and so should be a fun weekend whether or not we do well. I think we're guaranteed 3 games, and I think if we were to, there's a good, I guess depending on how we do, we may not end up playing on Sunday. So we'll just see how it all works out. So wish us luck. All right, that just leaves us with something good. So earlier this week, I was over at our daughter's, and she decided to give me my birthday present early. And she made me this beautiful shawl. It is the Honeycomb Shawl by Catherine Knutson from Beehive Wool Shop in Victoria. And does she know my colors or what? I am going to just push this ironing board out a little bit so I can get it all in the frame for you. So hold on, here we go, and I'm going to try not to run into my loom, which is just over there in front of me. All right, see if I can get this all in the picture. Not entirely, but you get the idea. It's pretty big, as you can see. And it has this all sorts of different stitch patterns and some slip stitches here, striping. That's a really interesting sort of dot pattern there. So it's nice and big, as you can see, so I can definitely see myself in the mornings and the evenings kind of wrapping up in it. I quite often wrap up in a shawl at those times of day. The yarn is kind of rustic. I'm going to just bring my ironing board back here so I can reach the things in front of me. She gave me the rest of the yarn. There was especially quite a bit left of the red. So it is by the Small Bird Workshop. It is Dunlin Fingering Weight, which is 100% British yarn. It's a 2-ply non-superwash, and the colorway is sumac. And I believe I think she told me that this was a colorway that was dyed specifically for Beehive, and I believe that Catherine Knutson is the Small Bird Workshop. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what she said or what I learned. I will provide a link to the project page for this shawl. My daughter's on Ravelry, so you can check out any details if you'd like to. And then the other, the two grays are from this different yarn. It's called Gathering Yarn. The Harvest is Here. And it is, it's called Brook Farm Fingering. The dark is color 13 charcoal, and then the light gray, I'm just seeing if it has a fiber content, 100% British wool also, and I'm going to assume it's non-superwash. And then the light gray is color 14, so same yarn. So not sure what I will do with these, but that was nice of her to pass them along. Especially love that red sumac color. This is, you know, we see this color in the fall in nature, in the outdoors, and it's just beautiful. The yarn, it's got some depth to it for sure. So anyway, definitely something good. And then also, while I was over there, oh, by the way, I should say, I'm not sure, I think she sometimes watches, so thank you, my dear. I do love it. Anyway, while I was there, it was about the time that our youngest granddaughter was coming home from school, and they live right across from the school. So my daughter was looking out the window and said, "Oh, Mom, look, here she comes, and look, she's wearing the hat and cowl that you made for her for Christmas. Come look." So I did, and so when I came in, like, I was just really happy she was wearing it, because when she opened it, I don't know, I didn't think she seemed that impressed. Although she did put it on to leave on Christmas Eve. But to know that that she's actually apparently wears it quite often, it made me feel really, really good to know it was getting used. So another something good. All right, I think that is it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If all goes well, I will see you again in about a week's time. So take care until then, and enjoy your crafting. See you soon. Bye.